I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. I'm wearing my Guitar Hero shirt, which means we're reviewing an album that has lots of damn guitar. And that excites me because I like guitar.
Yeah.
The Icarus Line, their fifth album, Slave Vows. This Icarus Line is an American post-hardcore band from California. They've been around since 1998. These guys have been rocking out since then. That's a long time, 5 albums, and actually in 15 years, that's 5 out. That's one every 3 years. Fairly steady pace, but you know, you figure you're gonna hear a lot more.
Yeah.
So when I hear 3 years or more from an artist, I want to see quality albums. That's one thing I'm looking for. Radiohead, take note. You may be my favorite band, but if you're gonna take 4 to 5 years to put out an album, don't give me the King of Limbs next time. Moving on. Slave Vows. Slave Vows. Post-hardcore. This does not sound like a post-hardcore.
I don't think so either. I think it's a lot closer to classic post-punk, if I had to put a label on it.
I'd say in the vocals, you're right.
Okay.
I'd say in the vocals, but I really got, like, there's a very large classic rock vibe that I get when I listen to this.
Yeah, I'll go with that, especially with the guitar.
Yeah, it gets, like, classic rock, but very, very experimental. There's moments where these guys, especially on the first track, Dark Circles, where these guys sound like Godspeed You Black Emperor, and that excites me. It does, because it's progressive, it's experimental.
And see, I'm with you on that. On like the first track, I got a big Swans vibe. It really brought me back to when we reviewed the Seer last year with that with that very you know, atmospheric building, you know, with the long tracks, waiting for the vocals to come in to really build and establish a tension. And I think that that's what the Icarus Line does on a lot of these tracks. So you do have a combination of genres there. You have a combination of styles and approaches.
Okay. Well, I definitely agree with you when you said post-punk when it comes to the vocals. This guy is belting out at the top of his lungs throughout this album. He's singing, but it's in this kind of like monotonous drone that you would hear from a post-punk singer. This guy brought to mind Marky Smith to me. I mean, his vocals. It worked on some of the songs for me, and it didn't on some of the others, but I realized the style that they were going for, and then mixed with a lot of just the pounding waves of instrumentation, these clangy-ass guitars on every track just beating me to death. It was kind of a cool effect. Now, there is something that we gotta come out and address.
Okay.
A lot of these tracks are very, very long.
Yes.
There's an 11-minute track, there's a 7-minute track, a 6-minute track, 7-minute track, a 5-minute track, and another 5-minute track. Like, there's a lot of very long tracks on this album. Why do you need to have tracks so long that do the same thing throughout the entire track? Did you get that vibe?
I definitely got that vibe. And the thing that really kicked it for me is, I'll use this song as an example, track 5, No Money Music. That track is just under 2 minutes long. It's just a short burst of this kind of punk energy. Reminds me a lot of something that you would hear on Suicide's debut self-titled album. You know, whereas the screams are being used almost more as of a rhythmic element, and you just have this barrage of kind of driving guitar, bass, and drums. And what I realized after listening to this a few times is I really felt like that track in 2 minutes was able to accomplish as much, if not more, than some of the tracks that were between 5 and 10 minutes long. And to me, that says that there's a bit of a problem. Now, I understand what they're doing with the longer track lengths. They're really trying to establish an idea. They're trying to establish a mood. They have the guitars start on some of them and kind of slowly build in with this noise, have the drums and bass come in, and it all just kind of builds from there until the vocalist comes in on top. But I never got, as you would put it, Jake, that warrant of why I should care about this. And like I said, I kind of compared some of the structure and the mood to Swan's album, The Seer. With The Seer, I got that warrant. I really felt like it was authentic. I felt like even if it wasn't, you know, a direct, detailed story, I felt like there was some kind of narrative in the themes and the musical ideas and moods driving the album. Here, I didn't get a lot of that. There were parts that I really liked, but a lot of it I felt like they were doing it just to do it. And that's really hard for me to get behind. It's really hard for me to attach to.
You know, you mentioned not establishing that sense of warrant, and I think that when Tom and I are very keen to the album format and how artists construct their albums. We don't review songs, we don't review collections of songs, we actually review the album itself as one idea. And if you look at the Icarus Line and what they did with Slave Vows, track 1, Dark Circles, is this crazy 11-minute long, just expansive. You don't even hear vocals. They don't even come in till 7.5 minutes. So it's just building throughout, and then the song shifts. That song is not representative of anything else that you're going to hear throughout the rest of the album. Then after that, track 2, Don't Let Me Save Your Soul, and track 3, Marathon Man, have these like classic rock roots, lots of blues influences in them. They're longer tracks, like together they make up about 15 minutes worth of the album, or 11 or 12 minutes of the album, and it's just a lot of rock, and not in an experimental way, not in a way that makes you think, wow, these guys are cutting edge. So you've got this really cutting edge track to start the album, and then you have this, period of the album that's pretty, normal, pretty run of the mill, nothing like post-hardcore, nothing really post-punk about it, and then it shifts. Track 4, Dead Body. We both picked that track.
Yeah,
that track hauls ass. There's a lot of great guitar riffs in that track. It's a builder. It just explodes at the end and really captures a lot of energy. Then you have No Money Music, City Job, Laying Down for the Man, some of my favorite tracks on the album right there in that.
I do think the album gets a lot stronger there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like they don't really hit the ground running well enough. You have too many, you have a lot of ideas in the first track, and then you have just kind of this period of just this lack of ideas. It gets a little stale there in that first third to half of the album before it really picks up on ideas. Still, for as long as this album is, there's not enough ideas here to really justify some of the crazy track lengths. You could have cut several minutes off of this album and accomplished the same thing. And whenever you have that, I feel like you have an album that just, you want more from it.
Yeah.
And, to be quite honest, there's a lot of people loving this album, and I feel like we're going to be kind of under that. Now, I think it affected us differently. I gotta say, I really felt that the instrumentation was top-notch throughout this album, and I thought the vocalist did a very good job. I got into the sound from time to time. The thing that bothered me most was some of the tracks, like, they just were too long. I'd get these ideas, and I'd be like, okay, it's been 4 minutes. I have 3 minutes left. Really? Really? That's how I felt.
And see, for me, what really killed it for me is that I came off of this album every time I listened to it liking it less, because I thought that every time I got through it, I felt like it was all style and no substance. I thought that it was all about the attitude and the energy, but with a lack of focus on the actual songwriting, melodic or even atmospheric ideas. I mean, that's kind of what they're going for, but I didn't think that their approach was really substantial. I thought it was just more about that edge. And for me, I like a good combination of those. Yeah, it definitely does. So you're absolutely right. It affected both of us differently, so there is going to be a big disparity in scores here. But I think we agreed on a lot of the details.
Yeah, in comparison to what I think, the median love is for this album, we're definitely both very much below it. And I think that kind of goes with just the risk that the Icarus Line took when making Slave Vows.
You're going to make a polarizing listen when you do something like this, and that's understandable.
So we're a little bit cool on this album. Tom, what are you going?
I'm going 60, even 60.
I liked it a little bit more than that. I'm going to go 72. So that puts this in the mid to upper 60s for Velocities and Music. Now this has an 86 on Metacritic right now. That is some serious love. So if you guys out there agree with a lot of the other critics who are reviewing Slave Vows and love this album, by no means should you take what Tom and I are saying here today as a sign that you shouldn't go out and listen to this album. This album, Slave Vows, is a testament to rock music. Whether you're into post-punk, classic rock, post-hardcore, whatever, if you like rock music with energy and thought and guys trying to write cutting-edge stuff, Slave Vows is an album you should check out. Please, when you do, leave us a comment. Give us your thoughts at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Also, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know what albums from 2013 you would like to see us review. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.